we could have regulations for America that, hey, these are the standards you need to go through until you do X, Y, Z. However, in America, we allow lobbyists to buy up politicians. So what if somebody's building a robot company, has massive expenditure now for lobbying, a few billion a year, 10 billion a year, and they're able to go past certain laws to give them the leverage to continue growing, and then, hey, don't come out with these laws, and maybe even other countries who don't have to abide by our rules and guidelines, who have their own money and they spend a bunch of resources, and we don't, and come 10, 20, 30 years from now, all of a sudden the military in another country is stronger than ours, and we fell behind. That's also the fear, because the fear is like, let's not accelerate AI in our country and robots, but somebody else does, and then the military drops. So then what happens? You understand the concern I have?
Totally, yeah. So that's a very real concern. AI is can be very persuasive now, and it's getting more persuasive by the day. This morning I was reading about some new AI cults that are forming on the internet and so on. So it's super important to have safety standards also for systems that are out there on the internet, talking to people to make sure, yeah, we understand what's going on there. We're lucky in that we in the US have the strongest AI industry in the world, and that gives us the opportunity to make sure that bad things aren't done with our tech. And interestingly, we should do it regardless of the rest of the world for our sake. And if you worry about China, for example, so Elon told me this really interesting story. He said he was in a meeting with some top people from the Chinese Communist Party, and he started talking to them about superintelligence. And he said, you know, if a Chinese company builds superintelligence, after that, China will not be run by the Communist Party. It'll be run by the superintelligence. And Elon said that he got some really long faces, like they really hadn't thought that through. And then within a month of that, they passed their new AI law. So, you know, why would
they were afraid of
Chinese companies doing crazy shit? So, you know, in other words, China, they put in place their own regulation on drugs, not to help us, but to protect Chinese consumers. They are reining in their tech companies from doing crazy stuff because they want to stay in control. So here again, you know, incentives, they kind of align. Each company has an incentive to make sure that they don't lose control, that none of their companies lose control over their tech. And then once that happens, at a grassroots level in individual countries, there's a very strong incentive now for different countries to talk to each other. You know, the European FDA, the American FDA, and the Chinese one, they talk to each other all the time to harmonize the standards. So someone who develops the medicine in the US can get quick approval elsewhere. We have these AI safety institutes, which have just been created now in the last year. America has one. England has one, China just started one. These nerds are going to be talking to each other again, you know, just comparing notes. And that's how we're going to eventually get some global coordination too. It's a mistake to be, I want to add some optimism here, you know, because some people are so gloomy these days. And they say, oh, you know, well, we're screwed because we're never going to we don't have the same goals as China, we're never going to get along. Hey, you know, we were not best buddies with Brezhnev from the Soviet Union either. Didn't have very aligned goals, but we still made all sorts of deals to prevent the nuclear war, because both sides realized that everyone would lose if we just lost control of that. It's exactly analogous here. All the top scientists across these countries, if they tell their governments that, you know, everybody loses if we lose control, there's an incentive, whether they love each other or don't, you know, for them to just coordinate. And this can be done. There's definitely hope there.
For the last 4 years, every time we do podcasts, I have to ask Rob or somebody, hey, can you pull up this news? Can you pull up that? Which way do these guys lean? Can you go back to the timeline of, eventually after asking so many questions, I said, why don't we design the website that we want aggregated? We don't write the articles. We feed all of it in using AI. So 8 months ago, I hired 15 machine learning engineers. They put together our news site called vtnews.ai. What this allows you to do when you go to it, if you go to that story right there that says Trump proposes overtime pay, click on it. It'll tell you how many sources are reporting on this from the left. If you go to the right, Rob, it says left sources. Click on it. Those are all the left sources. If I want to go to right sources, Those are the stories. If I want to go to center, I go there. Now, if I want to go all the way to the top and I want to find out a lopsided story, a story that only one side is reporting on, either the left or the right. So if you notice the first one, will say Zelensky announces release of 49 Ukrainians from Russia. Notice more people on the left are reporting on that than the right. If I go to the middle one, same thing. If I go to the right one, same thing. You can see what stories are lopsided. And if I pick one of the stories, pick the first story, click on a Trump one, proposes overtime tax cuts. To the right on the AI, I can ask any question I want, but click on the first question that has it. It says, what is the political context and potential motivation behind the Trump's new tax cut proposal? Click on the question mark. It explains exactly what the motives are. So for you to use, whether you're doing a podcast, you're in the middle of a podcast, or you just want to know it for yourself, you're busy like myself. And last but not least, this is all AI doing this, some machine learning engineers. Go all the way to the top. I can go to timelines, and see how far back a story goes. Pick the Israel-Palestinian conflict. If I want to go to that and go back and see why are those 2 days a big spike, I'll have Rob pull it over to go to those 2 days with a big spike, and I'll see exactly what happened on that day or the previous day, and many other features VTnews.ai has. So simply go to VTnews.ai. There's a freemium model, there's a premium, and then there's the insider. If you want to have unlimited access to the AI, click on the VTAI Insider. You can now become a member effectively today.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.